Hello, thank you very much for joining our Royal Ascot Day 4 preview. We'll be taking a look at the Commonwealth Cup and the Coronation Stakes, and then we'll also have a brief glance at some of the supporting races. Another fantastic day from Royal Ascot, two big Group 1s. Admittedly, the Coronation Stakes probably isn't the strongest edition that it's ever been, but still provides some interesting betting opportunities. But we're going to make a start with the Commonwealth Cup. We've got Shadow of Light at 9-4, Babush 5-1, Tronquil 8-1, two Aidan O'Brien's, Whistle Jacket 10s, Ides of March 12s, Big Mojo 18s. You're going to have to pronounce the French one at 25s.
Rayevka.
Arizona Blaze, who we put up earlier at a shorter price at 25s. She's so spicy 25s, and then 33s, best of the rest. Firstly, I want to start by talking about how the fact there are 5 places with Sky and Bet365. Everyone else has only gone 4s, which Daniel, the Each Way Fiend, is a bit frustrated by. So that would suggest we're looking away from the front of the market. But Shadow of Light 9-4 could get bigger with the way Godolphin horses are running. Is he the one to turn their week around?
Well, just two things. Firstly, could I say you're looking very well for a man who arrived early at Ascot yesterday and was still there long after I left, after the band were playing. So you're doing well on a big day. Well done.
Yeah, looks can be deceiving.
Good. Sorry for that aside. The second is, turn their week around. Yeah, Appleby, of course, Godolphin, monster result today.
True.
We got a new middle distance super star, certainly, and who knows how high Ombudsman could fly. For Appleby, it is a concern, isn't it? Appleby was kind of blank last year, ruling court, a bit dull yesterday compared to Guinea's Day. So that would be taking that out of the equation. And as you know, I loathe a short favourite, particularly in a sprint in a 20-horse field. But he's now 9-4. Maybe you'll get 5-2. I mean, just take the price 3-1. If you run this race 3 times, does Shadow of Light win it once? And I think the answer is just yes. He does, doesn't he? As in, he's probably value now. I, with my sort of psychological hang-ups of this kind of market constellation, I can't go there and bet him, but I think he's a fair price. His move in the Guineas to zip into the lead, screamed out sprinter, his stride cadence, everything, his form from last season, he's clearly trained on. It just ticks every box, apart from Appleby in the middle week of June compared to May at Group 1 level.
Yeah, and we saw the effects potentially with ruling court of being trained for one race and then suddenly changed in direction to a shorter race. And there's something we might touch on with Tronquil too. And it seemed to have quite a significant effect on ruling court. Shadow of Light, the decision might have only been made in the last couple of weeks that they were going to go here. So
that's a good point. There are 2 aspects to it. Yeah, on the one hand, they were potentially some James Palacing until they didn't, because they suddenly had ruling court for that. But on the other hand, they were always priming him to be at his best next time out for this day, or rather, this week.
Yeah.
When ruling court was primed to be at his best for 10 days ago. Do you know what I mean? That's weird thing about ruling court. But as I've said before, again, I'm no trainer. I wouldn't know about the intricacies of getting a horse to peak for a day and then it's going to be 10 days later. I don't know how difficult that is, but yeah, it's maybe at the back of your mind. It's a good point.
Yeah. Okay. So, but Shadow of Light would say lukewarm on, would certainly not turn people off from having a go at short prices. So that's what you like to do. Babush is next in the market at 5-1. Choice of Colin Keane, which is interesting. I don't know whether that's out of loyalty for Joe Lyons or whether that's because they think she's got the better chance of the 2 Judmonts. But there's been a lot of negative talk from mainly Joe Lyons himself about this horse. So at 5-1, are you looking to avoid?
Yeah, you like better vibes, don't you, as a rule? But after a sort of dull seasonal return, she was excellent last time out. So again, you've got a horse who's clearly trained on. So she, in that sense, she's a really logical alternative to the favourite. And because of the vibes, I'm just not quite sure. She's drawn very high, just next to Shadow Light and Tronquil. That's quite interesting. All the big guns at the front of the market are drawn high. Whether that's where the pace will be, because none of those three is going to want to lead, I don't think. I don't know. So I'm not going to go for Babush myself, but yeah, I get it, and I get her. I think certainly I prefer her to what is now amazingly a completely similar price for Tronquil. Poor old Tronquil. Who was looking like an absolutely slam dunk to be placed in the St James Palace Stakes, admittedly not win it because of a certain horse called Field of Gold, only for this embarrassment of Richard to send him here. And on the basis of that French derby, don't you find that a really strange decision?
Yeah, he never run over 6 furlongs before. Probably isn't necessarily bred to run over 6 furlongs. It doesn't feel the natural move at all. Will be taken out of his comfort zone on what will be rattling fast ground. And we saw that he had a lot of stamina and, to be fair, high cruising speeds in the French Guineas, but this will be a whole different ball game.
Yeah, that was against Milers, and after being up within the teeth of the pace, he finished well. He sustained it to the end. He's got stamina. Yeah. I would argue that he actually ran a better race than Henri Matisse, given the pace dynamics of that race. And look, if Field of Gold didn't exist, we'd be hailing Henri Matisse as the champion miler of the 3-year-old miler of the season now, wouldn't we? After yesterday. I don't get this move for Tronquil at all. Excuse me. I get it if he was priced up at 10, 12, 14, 16 to 1, but not at 5 to 1. No, I don't want him.
There still is some 8s. I think Ladbrokes and Coral maybe still 8s, but
okay. Right.
I reckon that will be disappearing, and it will probably be about 5s by the time you get to watching this. Well, okay, moving on from Tronquil, we've got the two Aidan O'Briens, Whistlejacket and Ides of March. Neither have been setting the world alight in their comeback runs. Any interest in Aidan O'Brien's contenders?
No, I don't think either are good enough. If I were going to take one of them, it would be Ides of March. Whistlejacket, better with a bit of dig. And yeah, older sprinters and Aidan O'Brien. I know there've been some very good ones over the ages, but they're not my cup of tea. No, these two, I'm ducking both of them. Ides of March, I could be wrong about. And Whistlejacket, wait for it. I'm sure I'm not wrong about Whistlejacket.
Yeah. Okay. Big Mojo was a horse that we put up, I think, at 20s not too long ago. Now we can get the 4 places at 18s. Does this turn into an each way bet?
Yeah, I thought it'd be much shorter by now. It's a really decent sprinter, and of course not sort of top famous stable connections. Owner trainer. I think he's neglected in the market. The other thing about him, which is not true at the top of the market, is he's a horse with course form. Won the trial for this race, the Commonwealth Cup trial, a couple of months ago, and then he had absolutely nowhere to go up in the Sandy Lane up at Haydock. So that's a throw out. He might have won that with a clear run. I think he's going to run a big race. I think it's a good bet. Yeah,
it's definitely very interesting 18s. Moving over across the English Channel, we've got Rayevka, 25s, and you like her, don't you?
I do. I mean, she's an unknown, so she might not be up to this. She might find, travelling to Britain and rattling fast summer ground and all a bit much. I have no idea. But last time out, she took a quantum leap forward. She was really impressive, having previously been, beaten to smithereens by Arizona Blaze, who's also here, having disappointed last time out. Also, I love the pedigree. Front shoes a Blue Point, so Blue Point did the double 5-6 furlongs here, and was it sort of King Stand QE2 same week, and yeah, she might just love it. And what's really interesting about the pricing is how most bookmakers are sort of 14s, 16s. There's a little bit of 20s, but there are some standout 25 to 1, and
yeah.
I think that's far too big. Unfortunately, that's with Paddy Power, who are 4 places, not 5. This is Sky and Bet3Size being the 5, and they're shorter. But yeah. I think this one's interesting for Graffard, Francine Graffard, France's all-conquering trainer.
Yeah, it's a very good point on the difference in bookmaker prices, because that's consistent across a lot of the field. So if you have an opinion on a horse, now is probably the time to play. As I said, Tronquil, there's mostly 5s, but you can get some 8s. Rayevka, 25s, but mostly shorter. And the same with a horse that I will be putting up as well in a minute. But let's go next to Arizona Blaze at 25s. We put him up earlier in the season before he disappointed at Haydock, when he performed very well in France, as mentioned, beating Rayevka. That Haydock form is a bit weird from that weekend. Are we willing to forgive Arizona Blaze?
Bear was beaten out of sight and came here and won the King Charles on Tuesday. Yeah, absolutely. We did put him up. It was very disappointing. He ran very dull race, although he's been very consistent, and he was brilliant on his first time out racing in France, and some amazing sectionals. So I'm hoping that's a dull day and he can turn it around again. I wouldn't go back in. It's slightly annoying. We put him up at a shorter price. You can now get 25 to 1. I wouldn't necessarily put anyone off, but you do have to forgive that bad run last time.
Okay, cool. From this point, probably just best picking out which ones of the outsiders that we are interested in. You touched on a Blue Point earlier, and I will go in with the other Blue Point, which is Sky Majesty. There's still a little bit of 33s left with Paddy Power. This is a Tony Blue and William Haggas combination, who obviously came second in the race last year with Lake Forest. This horse is 3 from 3 on the turf, including a Group 2 win at Chantilly. That was on heavy, but as I said, he is a Blue Point, and on the dam side, there is a lot of form over good firm ground. So that doesn't concern me too much. His comeback was on the all-weather at Chelmsford in April, where he came third in what was a decent race, and he did travel a bit keen. That certainly will not have been the target. We know William Haggas can be very patient, so fingers crossed he has had his eyes on this race for a long time, and hopefully he can put up a similar performance to Lake Forest did last year. So yeah, Sky Majesty, if there's still 33s around by the time this goes live, I think that's an interesting play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's one horse that could really step forward of the outsiders. And again, the Blue Point angle is good. I'd mention a couple I won't back, because one can't back every outsider each way, not even me. Leavani, of course, as course form has now drifted to 33s. That's quite big. She's drawn very high, 21. Arabian Dusk drawn right the other side, also 33s. She really bounced back to form in a big way last time out. But the one I will back, going much further down the list, is Ain't Nobody at 50 to 1. Ain't Nobody has decent course form. He won the Windsor Castle, I think, last year, and when you look through the form of what he beat, it doesn't look great now. That was one of 2 decent runs over the Ascot straight course, and I'd be pretty confident he'd outrun his odds. Whether or not I'll get him in the 5, which is what I'd require with Sky or Bet3Size, is another matter. But I will back Ain't Nobody at 50s.
Okay, yeah, and interesting. And a few, Saida Dalian had form in front of Sky Majesty on that Chelmsford run, so he might be interesting at a big price too. Leavani, I saw the course form, or recalled the course form, so was slightly tempted at 33s, but then dug deeper into that Queen Mary that she won. and it has to probably be one of the worst Ascot Group 2s I've ever seen.
Right.
There's not a single horse I must have come on to win anything close to a Group of listed race, and it has not worked out very well. But yeah, any more as Ain't Nobody the last of your outsiders?
Yes, I think so. That I wouldn't want to move on to Coronation without mentioning Diablo Rojo, who absolutely flew home in the Commonwealth Cup trial won by Big Mojo over course and distance after having, dallied with longer distances. He could be a bit of a sleeper. Yeah, I will have a few pennies on Diablo Rojo on Betfair.
Okay, well, treat yourself to a nice bottle of Diablo Rojo if that comes in. Right, Coronation Stakes is the next race we'll talk about at 420. The favourite, or they're co-favourites at the minute, Falakayeh and Zarigana, both at 5-2. We've then got Kiki, who was supplemented for the race at 7s. January at 8s, exactly 11s. Shant Lace, 12s. Flight, 16s. 13, 18s. The other Sanctuary runner simmering at 40s. Duty First, 50s, and then Cathedral as big as 66s. So yeah, immediate reaction for me is that Zarigana should be favourite. Falakayeh, we'll find out more about her form tomorrow with Life is Beautiful running in the Ribblesdale. But the 3rd and 4th from that Newmarket race were both bitterly disappointing in their next starts out. They were the French Oaks and the Epsom Oaks, but still they were very far down the fields, and I would have some quite serious question marks.
Christian, was one of those Killing Queen?
Yeah.
But she then did go on to win a listed race from Revoir before going to Epsom. So although she blew out totally,
yeah,
there was something that happened next. But yeah, anyway, I know.
How did Revoir get it on in the Oaks? I can't remember.
Sorry, how did who get on the Oaks?
Revoir.
Oh, both Revoir and Killing Queen were bitterly disappointing in the Oaks. Yeah.
Okay.
So not well. Yeah. Arguably, hold up. But Epsom, this could be a pause. The dogs have gone crazy.
Okay. Apologies. Daniel has just had a takeaway arrive, so the dogs have gone slightly crazy. What sort of takeaway have you got?
I don't know. That's been ordered by my youngest. I have no control over these things. I'll find out later.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a nice surprise to have waiting for you. Yeah. So, yeah, in essence, Falakayeh 5-2, I think is a bit questionable. Zarigana herself has the Group 1 form. The French Guineas has worked out okay. The main takeouts from that race, sort of the main form line through that is into the French Oaks, where some of the horses that came sort of 4th, 5th, 6th also came 4th, 5th, 6th in the French Oaks. So there's no glaring red marks across the French Guineas form. So in my eyes, should be favourite, but Miguel Barcelona on UK tracks, he's highly frustrating to watch. It feels like every time they're determined to, or that maybe he only thinks in the UK you can win if you pass every single horse. They are always dropped out the back and have left with far too much to do. So
it's not
maybe
just
one to back in play if that's how.
It's not just British tracks, on French tracks as well. I mean, he was lucky to get the French Guineas from She's Perfect in the Steward's Room because his ride didn't deserve it at all. Do you know what I mean? She should have won that race. And that's a number of races, in the last few weeks, big races where he's doing his exaggerated waiting thing. Maybe they're a good clip here, and exaggerated waiting ride is exactly what is required. But yeah, that doesn't inspire me with confidence. We did, we put up an article about Zarigana and how she was an each way bet to nothing at 9-2 a few weeks ago, and because of Lake Victoria's absence, of course, that was looking like a good bet, and still does look like a very good bet. But yeah, 5-2 is not an unreasonable price. But my least favourite big name jockey, I wouldn't play at that price myself.
Yeah, Kiki next at 7, who was supplemented for the race. I don't think the form necessarily merits the supplements, or certainly the 7-1. But this is a weak renewal, so I can possibly understand why they're doing a good opportunity to get some Group 1 black type in the book if it places. 7s, are you of the same mind here that it's slightly too short?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, say sort of because she was priced up at sort of 5s, 11-2, and she's drifted. There's not much love for her. I mean, I get it in a sense. She showed a really good turn of foot to win that listed race with like Killing Queen behind. And her figures are 1-1-1. So why not go for it? We don't know where her ceiling lies. She's not a bet for me here, but I definitely wouldn't be shocked if she were to win.
Okay. Next in the betting, we've got the two Aidan O'Briens, January and Exactly. Are you more keen on these two than his runners in the Commonwealth?
Yes, is the answer. But I would give my right arm, my left arm, and maybe a couple of other limbs too, to know the discussion and the debate between him and the yard about why he's riding January. She was 8th, being at 8 lengths in the Irish Guineas, and it's not like Late Victoria, who was a superstar 2-year-old who was only beaten kind of 2.5 lengths in the English Guineas, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was beaten a country mile. Now, obviously, she stepped forward since. That's the kind of stable MO, isn't it, with their 3-year-olds when they come out. But wow, she must have taken a huge step forward to be 3 points shorter than Exactly, who was only 4th in the French 2000. But she got the worst of that. That scrimmaging. She's perfect and Zarigana. In fact, she was the only one that was inconvenienced by a hefty bump. So, of the two, as I say, it will be a case of in Aidan they trust, because January is a line of blue on Checker. But I'd much rather be with Exactly. And at 4 places at 9-10-1 with Sky, it's a perfectly reasonable each way bet. Unless, because they just have the jersey but didn't declare, unless they just have a slight doubt about the stamina for a mile with her. She was maybe slightly fading in the last few yards, but apart from the scrimmaging in France, and maybe Ascot's stiff final 2 furlongs won't be for her, but I'd much rather be with her than her stablemate.
Okay, and you don't think that she could be being used as a pacemaker under Wayne Lorden?
Blimey, I hadn't even thought of that. That's blimey. Yeah, they do sacrifice goodness, don't they?
Especially fillies. Continuous as well, but especially fillies.
Wasn't he? So in the against Field of Gold, I thought, ridden out the back to run on his merits, but oh no. That's a good point. I imagine with Duty First and a couple of others, it might be a decent pace, but yeah, something to think about. I hadn't.
Okay. Shant Lace is next in the betting at 12s. Pretty unexposed. Was probably, you could argue, chucked into the Guineas maybe a bit early in her career. 12-1. What do you think?
They obviously think a lot of her. We know little about her. But no, I prefer the stables. The other one, we'll come to that later.
Okay. We'll touch on both the sangsters in one go here. We've got Flight at 16s and Simmering at 40s. Both ran very well in the Newmarket Guineas and then disappointed considerably in the Irish version. I don't really understand the price disparity between the two of them, especially given that Simmering has got pretty good Ascot form. She was second in the Albany to Fairy Godmother, who was obviously a bit of a superstar last year. And then she won the Princess Margaret. Form of that not as strong, but obviously she likes the track. And at 40s, I think she might be a decent each-way play if you can get 4 places. Flight, on the other hand, 16s feels about right. Do you have any contrary opinions on the sangster fillies?
No, it's one of those things where, if the Irish 1,000 Guineas had never happened, these two would both be single figures, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Plenty of people favouring their chances. They could both run really well, and for me, it just feels, and they're a good example of why this just feels like a market that's not the wrong way round, but it's extremely stretched out in a way that doesn't make sense to me. I'd have them both shorter, and I wouldn't put anyone off them. I hadn't realised you pointed it out that you can actually get 40-1 on Simmering with really decent course form. I mean, why wouldn't you have a pot of that? Absolutely, I get that.
Okay. Any word on 13 at 18s or?
No, ran on really well, didn't she, behind Lake Victoria in Ireland. third place. She's had quite a lot of runs, though. I feels a bit exposed. I can't get there with her.
Yeah. And will it be a hat trick of positive words for Duty First at 50s?
Oh God! I give up on a horse, have you? She looked, so good at Fred Daly, and I think actually, though, a little bit of dig in the ground is what she needs, rattling fast. So I think I might have to give up on Duty First in a race this deep at 50-1, and yet.
Okay.
The reason I'm giving up on her is because I want the other outsider who's 6 still won. Cathedral was always Rafe Beckett's most exciting 2-year-old. Sort of disappointing on comeback, but there's more there, and I don't think is it Ammo Racing, those colours? I can't.
Yeah.
Maybe this is an ownership group that wants a day out, but I suspect that the stable thinks there's more in this filly, and they're hopeful of a good run. And she was a very exciting 2-year-old. Yeah, 66. Yeah. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, well, they've got 2 runners in the Commonwealth Cup, so I suggest that their ticket for the day out would already be sorted for Kia. Probably is running on merit, and definitely a very interesting play if you can forgive the last run. Summarize, Cathedral 66 is of interest, simmering at 40s, and Zarigana I think should be favourite exactly each way, 4 places at 11s. Okay, moving on for the Coronation. What race would you like to touch on next? Sorry, the Albany Stakes is the first race of the day.
Yeah, the other 2 group races of the day, and the Albany I particularly want to look at, because actually I was almost going to say let's not bother, because you've got sort of six fillies at sort of 5, 6, 7-1, and I can't choose between them. And then suddenly, because of Ballydoyle's 2-year-old tour de force on days 1 and 2 with, I'm going to forget the names now, Gstaad and Truly, oh my God, True Love, thank you. Suddenly, this Signora has just crashed in price to 11-4, and I'm completely sceptical. You can't just think, oh well, those two had collateral form. So when Gstaad waltzed away with the Coventry, Truly Love was hang on, she ran Gstaad close the time before. That I get collateral form. The Signora is not. This is not the same case. So I don't get it, and so I think they're pushing out all the other horses, and the next 4 in the betting: Venetian Sun, Fitzello, Gold Digger, Green Sense. They're all quite exciting in their different ways, but the one that stands out to me is Gold Digger. Only run once, won it, but, and here's the but, as in the plus but, the collateral form is remarkable. Everything else that runs behind it, and everything else that runs against the things that runs behind it, seems to be winning. It's really, really worked out, that form. So Gold Digger would be my play.
Okay, yeah, interesting. The one I was interested in was Green Sense. Finished 2 lengths in front of Signora and is 3 times the price. It feels a bit wrong. Okay, on to the King Edward then at 5:35, Group 2, the Ascot Derby, some people refer to it as. I wouldn't be so flattering to it. Who do you like?
I've got a slight problem with that question. And the 2 horses I liked have taken a lot of money since Dex came out for this. It's one of these races, where you don't even know who's running until sort of 5 days before. But since then, the favourite Amilog, very, very exciting for Rafe Beckett, has kind of gone from 11-4, 3-1 down to best price 15-8. That's too tight, so I wouldn't recommend that. Puppet Master, clearly what I call an Aidan O'Brien, 7th, 8th, 9th string middle distance horse. Not for me, 4-1. Zoran was the other one for Johnny Mutter, Aga Khan Silks. This one really exciting. Maybe 11-2 is still a reasonable price. each way. I know that yeah, you can get that with Sky 4 places. Zaran would be my pick, but again, you were getting 8s 3-4 days ago. It's just a shame. But so at the current prices, looking down the list behind the somewhat disappointing, well, this season anyway, Wimbledon Hawkeye and Nightwalker. The two that strike me are Opportunity, Wathno colours for Haggis. Opportunity was in that Amelot race at Goodwood, I think it was, and this was a sort of prep for the Derby, I think, but he didn't run well enough to justify it. But it wasn't his fault he didn't run well enough. He was absolutely taken out of the race, really bad trouble. And the stable really liked this horse. And I think because you see a 4 next to his name, or whatever it was, a 5, I can't remember what it was now, people will think, oh, well, he's not going to be good enough. But he's still that could be anything box. And I think Opportunity is really interesting. The other one I'd mention is Convergent, who I believe, unless I'm getting my names mixed up, which happens, I believe Convergent was one of those behind Lambourne and Lazy Griff.
Okay, yeah.
In that extraordinary trial for the Derby, that is all working out pretty impressively. Wasn't Further placed in the Queen's Vase today? I think he was another one in that race. So. Okay. Yeah, just check out that Convergent form line. Not least because I could be talking complete nonsense and mistake. Convergent with something else beginning CON. But no, I think that was him. And I think Further strengthened the form as well as the Derby one too. So yeah, those would be my picks at the current prices.
Okay, perfect. Right. Anything else to mention at all on the day? Nothing in the handicaps?
Good grief, no.
Okay, perfect. Right. Well, we will wrap up there. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching once again. Please keep up with the comments and please like and subscribe. Also, do head to our Twitter and our website to get the most up-to-date commentary from us and tips. And yeah, thank you, everyone. Hope you're having a splendid Ascot week. Mine has started pretty dismally from a punting perspective, but we're only 40% of the way in, so plenty of time for things to turn around.
That's because you told me yesterday at Ascot that you'd back Crimson Advocate for the Duke of Cambridge, and you sent me a WhatsApp saying, hooray, finally. And only said, I can't find the bet. It's the worst.
I know.
The worst feeling.
I know.
The worst feeling.
Yeah, it was. I was texting another mate before the race saying, "Oh, for F's sake, there's only 2 places now. That's a waste." But no, it wasn't a waste. But it didn't matter because I didn't even put the bloody bet on. So yeah, a highly, highly frustrating day. Yeah, we'll bounce back. That's what punting's all about. We'll bounce back patiently, waiting for the right opportunity. But yeah, we will not let it knock us. Cool. Right. Yeah. Thanks again, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Enjoy the gorgeous weather. And we will probably speak to you with previews of Saturday, recorded Friday. Bye.